Okay, so question 1 we're going to look at under the visualizer, so just skipping to 2A. Estimating. Now, the key thing with this word estimating is we do what to start solving something like this? Round it to what? One significant figure. The common misconception here will be to round that to 200, that's good. Round that to 50, that's also good. But people will round this to 150. Why? It was really close to 150, isn't it? It's silly. It seems silly not to. But 200 times by 150 is not as easy as it could be. You're allowed to round to one significant figure. So I've actually changed that to 100. The truthful answer is, if you write 150 there as well, and you actually answer that correctly, you will get full marks, okay? Because that's actually way closer to 148 than 100, isn't it? The estimation, the rule that I use, is always round everything to one sig fig.
Would you get full marks for that, yeah?
Yeah, full marks.
I thought you had to round everything to the same, so if you were rounding by one sig fig, you have to round
I think that makes really, really clear and logical sense to do, but some people say, oh, just make it to a number that's nice, that's near it, but I prefer what you said. If you've done one sig fig for the first two, then do it throughout. You could argue, I suppose, that we're rounding this to the nearest 10, this to the nearest... Well, that's not to the nearest 10, is it? If I did that to 200. Nearest 100, yeah, you're right. What you said is much better. Okay? You can see there I ended up getting like 2,000 divided by 5. And there's two ways. I showed you bus stop method here. There's a much nicer way. If I just come over to the board here, cover up the zeros. What's how many times 5 goes to 2? And the answer is it doesn't. Make a zero available. How many 5s go to 20? 4. And then how many zeros appear now from behind my hand? 2. So 4 and 2 zeros is 400. Much quicker than doing the bus stop. But it's whatever's easiest for you. But now I am recording, okay? Can you see the little record button up there? Thank you, Nancy. And you're on the video. Lovely. Okay, so there's a really obvious trick in this question. Can anyone tell me what it is just from my work in there? Yeah, that's in metres, that's in centimetres. You should check. Every unit has to be the same unit of measure. They have to all be in centimetres or metres, okay? So we've got two options. We could either change both of these into metres, or we could change that into centimetres. Any idea why I changed this into centimetres? The other two are already in centimetres, and it's probably nicer because this would be 0.5 and this would be 0.4. Dealing with decimals, multiplying with decimals, may be slightly harder, okay? The next question, well, the question then says, calculate the volume of the prism calculate the volume of the triangular prism, giving your answer in centimetres cubed. Well, there's an even bigger reason to have it in centimetres cubed then. It says in the question what's in centimetres cubed. Okay? So everything in centimetres first. So we've done that. Now, and I'm recording again now. There's my volume. I've changed that formula from the front sheet. So it says area of cross-section, so that's base times height divided by 2, because it's a triangle, it's the cross-section. L slice and obviously a triangle. And then I times by how long it is, okay? So what's the base of the triangle? 40?
Yeah.
Height? 50? Divide that by 2. 40 times 50. And then divide that by 2. What's 4 times 5, Lou? 20. Then add in the 0 from there and there, so 2,000. Half of that, 1,000, times by how long it is? 120. So 100 times 120 comes to... I had 120,000 centimetres cubed. Okay? Can you see on this bearing, I've gone and put in a couple of missing angles. Any idea how I worked out that as 35? Angles on a straight line add up to 35. Why is this saying 180? It's the other side of the straight line, okay? What do we know about all of these angles? They add up to 360. In bearings, what is the most important word? From, okay? Not from north, just from, okay? So where I've got mine here, it says from R. That means I'm at R, and you start measuring from north, whoever said from north, that is important, and you're going clockwise and round until you hit P. So I stopped there, so I sort of highlighted everything green. Does that make sense what I did? So I'm here, and I'm measuring all of that bit around. Is that cool? I can't see it because my fingers are in the way, but can you see that? Was it coming up? Oh, that's amazing, isn't it?
Wait, so...
It is still recording.
Can you bring that down, please?
So, it says from R, so I go and put my finger on R, and I'm measuring from north, and I measure clockwise. So I'm measuring the 35 and the 180, and stopped here, because it hits the line that's P, and it says the bearing of P. Okay, so I've measured 35 degrees and 180. So any idea what I might do with those two numbers? Add them together to get 250. So it's all about reading the question slowly. Like, I'm terrible at these questions, so I just dive in. You need to just stop, look at it. As soon as you see this word here, or this statement here, just slow down, read it, think, have I taken my time to read it and understand it? So we're told that Enzo has a polygon. What does it mean to be a polygon? Just a shape, any shape. Triangle, could be a decagon which has got 10 sides, could be a dodecagon which has got 12 sides, could be a centagon which has got 100. Okay? So it's just a shape. But this knocks out loads of them then. It says it's an odd number of sides. There's my decagon and dodecagon. They can't be those because they've got even number of sides. It's not a triangle, and it has fewer than 7 sides. Now you'll see little ticks on my working. That just means I've dealt with it sort of further down the question. It then says the interior angles, 3 of the interior angles each measure 106, so 3 of the angles are 106. And then it says all other angles are marked with the letter X. Well, we do that anyway. When we don't know something, we put an X, don't we? Okay, and they're both X, it means they're both the same. So what I've started to do to solve this then is I've said polygon equals any number size. Okay, it means any number of size shape. Why did I bother writing that? Any idea? It's because of this statement up here. I'm just showing, look, I understand this stuff, okay? If it says you'll be assessed on the quality of your organisation and your written communication, then just state what you're thinking, okay? So I've ticked it. I've then written underneath, you can see there, I said, but the number of sides is odd, so that's going to be 3. What's a one-sided shape? Anyone know a one-sided shape? A line, yeah, that's not really a shape, is it? You could argue a circle, but equally I could argue that a circle actually has infinite sides, okay? So I didn't bother putting down one, but even so, it's not a triangle, we haven't got a one-sided shape, okay? It's got fewer than 7, so I've gone and crossed out there the 7, is that on laser there? I've gone and crossed out the 7 line, I said it can't be that because it's got fewer than 7, okay? And I've just referenced what that is. So that, by process of elimination, means it must be a 5-sided shape, which we call a pentagon. Good. Okay? Now from there, drawing pictures is massively valid in terms of your written communication in maths, okay? If I don't understand something, I'll probably try and draw a picture to try and work it out, okay? So my picture by here, I've shown you there how I worked out this 540, but what Lewis knew, that that fact that he quickly recalled, said, well, it's just going up 180 every time. That's absolutely true. Okay? If in doubt, if it's got a big number of sides, just try and chop it into triangles and just add up the triangles, okay? Don't have to write it like this. It's more than acceptable to just say there are 540 in that shape and not prove it. You're allowed to just know that. Okay? I then redrew exactly the same shape, but I put in the angles here. Didn't it tell me that 3 of them were 106? So there you go, I wrote in 3 106s, and I marked the other 2 sides. They don't even look the same, do they, my x's, but it doesn't matter. I then, by the sides, added up the angles that I knew, took it away from 540, and I found that that was 222. So is the answer 222? Why? There are 2 x's, so 2x, and I've got that sitting here. 2x is equal to 222, and then halving it would be 111. Okay? You're doing really well, okay? You should have had this statement. 100% take away 20% is equal to £36.80 because it says that it's 20% off all tickets, and he's paid the reduced price. So that means 80% is equal to that. Now, ordinarily, what we would do here is we would divide both sides by what? 80. What's £36.80 divided by 80? Well, no idea. So I'm working the smarter way here. I'm actually going to divide both sides by 8. Any idea why? It's a little bit easier divided by 8 rather than 80, isn't it? Okay. What's 80 divided by 8? 10. Okay. And then, as you can see by here, I've just gone and done the bus stop over here to work out how many 8s go into that.
How did you know I was 460 then?
Well, as you can see by here, I've divided 8 into the £36.80.
But that's hard though.
So what percentage?
Well, I just did that. That's something I expect you to be able to do when you're in year 7, yeah?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I couldn't do it in my head like that. So I have to do this stuff.
Can you run us through doing it?
Yeah, sure. Counting 8s, how many 8s do I count until I get to 3? Impossible, you can't. You start at 0, then 8, you've gone past it. So this is 36 now, not just 6. How many 8s go into 36? So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. 40 is too many. So come back to 32. So that is 4, remainder 4. Okay, so that 4 goes there, and that's 48 now. How many 8s into 48? 6, no remainder. 8s into 0, none. Okay? So how do you think I'm going to work out 100% if I know 10%? Just times by 10. If we had a calculator, we probably would have still divided by 80 both sides and then times by 100. Too hard without a calculator, so just a little bit of a hack made it much easier. So the real price was £46. If you beat me to that, well done. I'm pleased with that. We're going to hate questions like B. I hate questions like B, okay? I only chucked 1 or 2 in like this, okay? They're fussy, And my best advice to you is not to stress yourself out if you don't get them. They're not the end of the world, okay? To get your head around algebraic questions like this, which we're forming an expression for, try and think about it in real terms. Freddie's paid X pounds an hour. Well, you can guess how much I've said. I said he's getting paid, what, £5 an hour, roughly? How long does he have to work before he earns 30 quid? And again, I just chose a number. And I thought of that. I just thought, if I was Freddie and I was thinking if I was your age, I'd want to get paid roughly about £5. I'd want to probably work for 30 quid a day or something like that, okay? So how would I work out how long he's worked to get that 30 quid if he's getting paid £5 an hour? Divide by 5. I just do 30 quid divided by 5, yeah? Now that would tell me how many hours would I have worked? 6. But it says how many minutes. How many minutes? So then to turn the hours into minutes, I'd times by 60, yeah? So I do that 6 hours times by 60. So what I've done by here is I've worked it all out with numbers. 1 second, Lewis, let me finish and I'll come to your question, okay? So I said I did 30 divided by 5 to work out it'd be 6 hours, and then I times that by 60 to turn that into minutes. Now that question's irrelevant because that's just numbers I plucked out of thin air, okay? And you could use any numbers there and it would always work. If you did the number of hours that the number of money that you got paid divided by your hourly rate, it would tell you the number of hours you worked. For instance, to this bit here, where has the 30 come from? What was that supposed to be originally? That was supposed to be Y, so I need to change that to Y because that 30 I was saying was my whole rate that I got paid. Where's the 5 come from? Well, that was my hourly rate. So I've changed that now into algebra as Y divided by X and then times by 60. And that would be good enough for the marks. That is the correct statement. That's it. You can simplify, because it's fractions, it's effectively 60 over 1 times by Y over X. You could change it to 60Y over X. Okay? Okay, you'll see already on my solution, we're sort of giving a little bit of the hint away. I've done a little bit of highlighting there just because of what it asks in the question. It says, calculate the percentage of the cost of a banana that goes to the seller under non-fair trade. So all of this stuff here is of zero use to me at all. I don't want to use any of this information. It's just there to bamboozle you and confuse you. You've got to pick out the appropriate stuff, okay? So the seller, so I've looked for seller, 12p out of 30, okay? So we do this normally with a calculator, but newsflash, we haven't got a calculator, it's paper 1. We'll say it's 12 out of 30 times by 100, okay? Now, I can't do that in my head, so I've done it a slightly different way. To turn it to a percentage, I've written 12 over 30. I then cancel it down to something that I know goes into 100. I was like, 30 doesn't go into 100, 30, 60, 90, 120. That's no use to me. So what I did was I divided this by 3, top and bottom, which became 4 over 10. 10 goes into 100, times top and bottom by 10, 40 over 100. 40 over 100 is 40%. If you put into your calculator 12 over 30 times by 100, it would tell you 40 straight away. But we don't have a calculator, so I had to work out a different way. Okay? Now that should make the question below it quite easy to do now, okay? So can you have a go at doing that one?
Yeah.
Answer for that bit was 20 out of 100, which is 20%. Okay?
Why do you get 2 marks for the first one and only 1 for the second?
Because it's more or less the same work, isn't it? I was thinking that, though. It's pretty much the same question, isn't it?
It's half of the other one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's another, yeah, because you could just, that's a really clever way of looking at it. I didn't do that. Well done, yeah, you can do. Did you do that? Very clever, well done, yeah. This bit here, now this bit I found bizarre, because I had to look at the mark scheme to think, have I actually done enough to get these marks here? It says, a newspaper report states that the grower gets too small a proportion of the price of a non-fair trade banana. Explain using fractions, so we have to use fractions, not percentages here, how this is improved with introducing fair trade bananas. So we're looking at the grower, okay? So if you come back up to the table, we're looking at there and there. So basically, all we have to do is work out the fraction that a non-fair trade banana that the grower gets, which is 2 out of 30, compared to 15 out of 30. That's it for 2 marks. As long as you have down 2 out of 30 and 15 out of 30 from it, that's what it wanted. It was more a question for checking that you can read a passage of text and pick out the information they wanted you to pick out. And I was there thinking, don't think I've got the 2 marks there. What do they want me to do here? Because I was about to say, and 2 times by 7.5 is 15. But it's overkill. I don't need to. That's true. It is. But I didn't need to do that to get those 2 marks. This one here now, right? I tried to do this if I was you, right? I wouldn't have actually divided by 2 here if it was me personally. Because I know a number that goes into that pretty obviously. Can you tell me what number I know goes into that? I know 3 goes into that because 3 goes into each of them. I would have actually done 3 there, but I thought, well, my class, I reckon, would probably just start halving because it's even, and that's absolutely fine. It's true, but you get to end up getting to like a 117, and you look at that and think, surely no number goes into 117, and 2 certainly doesn't. But if you add the digits together, and I've shown you this trick before, so 117, if you do 1, add 7, that comes to 9. If 3 goes into that, then 3 goes into 117. And 3 does go into 9, so I divided it into 3. In worst case scenario, just do bus stop division, just have a guess with a number. 4 can't go into it because 2 doesn't go into it, it's not even. 5 doesn't go into it because it doesn't end in 5 or 0. 6 is even, so it can't be that. 7, it could be 7, so you could try the 7s, but you'll find it doesn't divide nicely. That came to 3 and 39, and then 39 was 3 times 13. But this bit then for index 1, that's worth 1 mark here, this is worth 2.